are really underestimating how bored consumers are becoming. And as a result, consumers are just deciding to discard your brand. A weak brand narrative will leave your brand without decisions made. Plain and simple. Take a look at Gap. Although it is worth mentioning that Gap did make some recent changes within its brand, it is also worth mentioning that for a very long time, Gap went without a narrative. When consumers don't know what your brand means or stand for in the market, consumers won't pay your brand any mind. For a very long time, we watched Gap do discount after discount. So much so, discounts became the brand. Gap would be forced to close down a lot of stores in many locations. Gap was on the decline. Consumers were not deciding. Gap was the perfect middle brand. If you've been here for quite some time, then you know how dangerous it is to be a middle brand, how no brand should ever want to be a middle brand. And if you recognize yourself, go and get the Escape the Middle Brand playbook. Gap would then take a stand back and define its brand narrative, which is fashion as entertainment. And then we began to see their campaigns interpret this narrative beautifully. Gap is now seeing a major sales growth. This is what happens when brands lead with a strong narrative. You are in a fierce and competitive market. Every brand wants to win. Every brand wants to be selected and decided. What turns that wish, however, into actual fulfillment is learning how to lead the market with a narrative and then interpretation. Now that you have your narrative, do you know how to interpret that narrative? When Gap combined the two, narrative and interpretation, what happened was consumers globally began to select the brand. Without position, without perception, without language, without control, your brand stays stuck in the middle. In the middle is where no brand wants to be. So if you recognized yourself throughout the video, come submit an application for private advisory.